Alright, howdy. I'm going to make one more video today, and I might have just figured out some better input into my microphone here, so guess let me know if the audio sounds a little bit better. Alrighty, so what this whole little summary is going to be is all going to be about 5G technology. So looking at this, we don't really get that appreciation because I already pulled it up here, but let's just pull it back up for educational purposes here. So I'm just gonna leave that chart and we're gonna just start right from the beginning here. So we're gonna look up the ticker XL and X right here, and it's gonna be, well, I can't pronounce that. It's on the NASDAQ though. And we could just take a look at the technicals here. Got a market cap of 21 billion, so it's a fairly large company, and it engages in the design and development of programmable logic semiconductor devices and the related software design tools. It also provides design service, customer training, field engineering, and technical support. It was founded by this guy, and since 1984. So, seems to be actually more of a smaller unit and software design tools. So, this was brought up within a little list of different 5G companies, and I just wanted to take a look at all of them briefly. So it won't be too detailed about each one individual, but I want to take a look at more of the bigger trends here and see if we can get some insight into some particularly good investments at this particular time in history. So we could draw something like so. Let's just say we draw it a little bit forgiving. A little bit of a trend line here as a vague amount of support, and we do have a positive uptrending asset here. Some of the negatives just to talk about is that we did have a monthly crossover here on the MACD, and we are currently not rounded with momentum here on the monthly sense. So this could still have a little bit of movement downward. We could see right here it started to tick to the upside here. One brief tick on the MACD. Something else I want to bring up here is that we do have, look at it. We do have this cup here, right? We got this big cup. So that is somewhat of a setup that historically can be a good play, right? Right here we could see that we're going to come over and consolidate. Looks like we had a little touch back here, but we're definitely pressing into all-time highs, which is also a very good thing to see when we're looking at potential, let's say, risk to reward setups here. So we could say that if we could get above, let's say that we get another bounce here and we can get above this range. Let's say we have a little bounce up. Let's see if we could have a pullback, and let's say we get support here and we can move back on up here. It could be a pretty nice little setup, especially considering that we just had the enrollment of 5G technology. Now, is this just the first dip to make this onward run? Who knows, right? But this is an interesting little setup here. I'd probably wait a little bit for this to fizzle out, but let's just quickly look at the week sense here. And yeah, we kind of had the bottom, let's say short-term bottom, put in right here. So I definitely wouldn't want to see any price action below this. And we can see we're having a little bit of confusion right now, back and forth, but it looks like it's rounding a little bit there on the weekly. Let's just pull up the daily sense here. And yeah, it looks like we're coming up on the daily, but how much are we going to hit before we could potentially just kind of trickle back down here? So I'm more of a long-term investor, so I'm looking for bigger long-term plays, and for this, it doesn't quite seem, this looks like something I want to keep an eye on. Let's just say that. I'm going to look at this price action, see what it does in the next few months, see if we have a little upward movement and have a little pullback, and see if we can touch support here, and then if we do, if we gain support here, man, that looks like a pretty good risk to reward setup. So right now the price is $84.65. If we can get up to, let's say, $96, this might be a potential breakout buy here. And yeah, it's kind of few and far between what's going to start surging right now. Well, 5G technology could be that asset class, besides potentially like things like gold and silver, which I've touched on. But just to keep this more as a general oversight, let's just continue on. So XL and X, number one. I don't think I'm going to even try to pronounce that. But yeah, let's look at the next one, QCOM. So ticker QCOM, Qualcomm, and it's on the NASDAQ as well. So I initially just drew the top here because I wanted to see which ones are worth even bringing up. But right here, we could say that we had kind of this extended cup formation, and we're somewhat consolidating within a tighter range. We're also getting support on this 200-day monthly, so this is actually a quite a long-term support trend line right there. So this one, we're on the monthly sense, we are somewhat coming down as well. We had a negative crossover, so that might have been an indication that we might have some downward action. But also, if we could see price break out of this $98 range, this looks like a potential good breakout buy. And it could be something where you could just set that stop loss right here, right? And then that could be pretty good. Let's just zoom in on the weekly. So right here, we haven't shown too much signs of reversal yet on the weekly sense. And on the daily, yeah, we're coming up. We might have a little bit of action still up here, but we're likely going to continue downward just based on some of these broader indicators. I mean, in here, let's just quickly draw a trend line for fun. And yeah, we could say, let's just say vaguely, right in here, we probably expect some price action here. We might have a little drop down in here, but this is also something possibly to keep an eye on. QCOM. It's kind of pushing towards its all-time highs, right? And we could see maybe some consolidation in here. And if we see, especially if it kind of consolidates right on here and and the momentum gets low, and the MACD gets low, that could be a pretty good buy signal to enter in on this, because it looks like it has kind of lost a lot of steam. That means it has a lot of energy potentially to the upside. Now, one of the things I'm just realizing right now is this big spread. And I don't know what the hell that is all about. A sell and a buy with a $30 range. Now it's still in post-market, which means that people are trading this asset after hours that typically most traders don't trade, right? So this is going to be data that we're not going to have right now. So maybe this is more reflective of that. But I'll have to take a look at this. You shouldn't see a spread of $30 on anything. Maybe like 30 cents would be reasonable. So this makes me want to consider the liquidity here. And it looks like it's pretty, well, it's just started. The month just started, so it's tough to say on that range. This one's a little bit suspectful for me because of that, but let's just continue on this general overview. And we're going to go to the next one, CCI. CCI, so Crown Castle Incorporated. So this one right here looks like it's a pretty good progressive uptrend. We've already broken all-time highs, so we're kind of pressing into foreign space right now. You could say that it's somewhat in a parallel channel up, so depending on how tight you want to draw this channel, yeah, we could say we've been moving upward like this, but you can see these steady moves. It's sometimes how much more is it going to go up before we might have a little bit of a correction here. So Crown Castle Incorporated looked like it's been some of the best performing out of these different technologies, but again here I'm not really looking at this, so let's just look up the last two here really quick. So QCOM, see what this is. Develops and supplies integrated circuits and system software based on technologies and use of voice and data communication networking. Blah, 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 blah. So it's 1985 here too. Not as much as I'd like to see. Let's just look at CCI, Crown Castle Incorporated. So typically you'd see like the breakdown, eh? I'm not sure why this one is not showing the breakdown. So yeah, I was just a little bit of a pause there because usually it would just show the financials there. Well, sorry, I don't want to pull up YouTube. But I pulled up this website here too because I just it had a pretty nice interface. We can see the infinity sign here. It had a nice website. Not that that matters much, but it basically talks about how it basically creates these small cell apparatuses that, okay, outdoor small cells, indoor small cells. So this is what the 5G stuff works on. So it produces all these small cells that installs them all over the place, right? So it looks like in general, that's what this company is going to be based off of. So it looks pretty good. It had a really nice interface here. I'm not sure if it's because I've been on it before, but it kind of showed up all this like moving parts and everything. Anyway, I'm just gonna exit out of there. You can look at that if you want. But CCI has had a pretty good run as it is. So it's had a pretty good run since 2015, and we see a steady growth curve here. So this could be a trend that's going up, but we could see here it's been quite bullish for a long time, which makes me a little bit, a little bit tough to jump in at these all-time highs, right? I would definitely wait for a pullback, let's say in this company. Let's say just right there, right? We had a pullback where? The 200 weekly moving average. And you could say that in a bull run, yeah, it's a nice place to add back in to your thing, to your investment, if it is going to truly go up. So you could see a couple touches here. So if you were just accumulating and holding this for a long time, there was a good buy zone right here and right there. Guess what? We touched it right here. Continue on to the upside. And this might be a good indicator too, that when we cross it and we actually close below it, we might have a little bit more of a downturn. So right here for me, like it's a little bit too overextended for me to be buying into this one, but it seems like a well-performing 5G technology-based asset. So also we're going to just exit out of this one right now. Let's look at VZ, Verizon Communications. So also on the New York Stock Exchange. Let's zoom back out. Let's look on a monthly sense and look at this. These are kind of setups that I get a little bit excited for because we're potentially could have some breakout investing here. Or I mean, we could almost see that these have almost went through their whole market cycle. And just to pull that market cycle up for some new people, when I keep on drawing these cups, market cycle, yeah, maybe if I could talk. So let's just look at some images, and this is the typical one that I refer to, and it doesn't have the full one, but you can see here that we obviously have a cup, right? And this is just the motion. So when we get through here, we have a lot of people that get shaken out from the market, and this is really where you want to get in, right? With the flattening of the curve, that's the best place to get in. But also, when you see it actually at the very top right here, you can see that there's maybe new room for prosperity. And for me, being more of a long-term investor, like that's where you want to put your money in, where it has opportunity to grow. So it would have been cool to get into here, but I wasn't really too aware of this. And we could say, yeah, I mean, this one overall isn't super extended right now in a monthly time frame. We're having some pullback, which is good. So it'd be nice to see it consolidate right up here, which it's kind of doing. It's kind of going up and down a little bit, but nothing's perfect. Let's just look at a weekly sense here. And we can say we just had our first little click back up. So it looks like we're having a little bit of a rally here. Sometimes I say that a good relative fair price or average price for investing, the weekly 200, the average price of the last 200 weeks, is typically, a place where in bull markets it'll kind of touch and keep going up in a long term. And then when we get underneath, when we have that reversal, you can see how it kind of acts as a ceiling a little bit and it keeps pushed down. And it looks like here we're finally getting above it. And yeah, it looks like if we had to prophesize that we would probably have some action like this, right? And then we're eventually going to have the possibility, well, not maybe that great, right? But this looks like a legitimate play here, especially if it can narrow up a little bit. When I say that, like, we don't want to see really the price action be too big because then our stop loss is going to be too big, right? So looking at that, that's still a 28% kind of swing, right? That's still a lot of movement for me. So it would be nicer to see, let's say, the price go up here and just kind of consolidate a little bit around here. That's where that's what I would like to see. Or something like so, just kind of slowly moving up as it makes its way up there. I don't really want to see it let's say, shoot just straight up here, because likely it's going to fall back down. And yeah, you don't want to just, get shook and loose with your $10 commission in and out of these kind of stocks. But let's just look in a daily sense here. And yeah, it looks a lot more drastic, this drop right there. We got a pretty good pullback, right? I would imagine that, we're gonna have to challenge that 200-day moving average on the daily, because this is also what some people use for long-term investment strategy, is looking at the 200-day moving average. And you could just see how, yeah, that just creates a medium for it. For me, I'm definitely more of a week-to-week, month-to-month investor. So for me, like Verizon, just like a lot of these 5G companies, you can see that they're almost forming like potential for breakouts. We're not really in the consolidation for long-term plays, but there's potential here within a couple of these companies. And I mean, let's just continue on. VZ, Verizon Communications. Just quickly look at the overview here, whatever it says. Holy smokes, 234 billion. So this is a very large company. So I think we've all heard of Verizon around Canada. So I imagine that this is a part of it, right? Verizon Wireless. It also has a lot of different aspects to it. So there seems to be a couple good technicals here. Definitely worth looking at. Let's just draw this trend line here before we leave it. Maybe I'll do something like that. All right, let's continue on. Let's go through the last couple here. We got two more. We got VMW. And we'll pull it up here, VMW. So right here, it looks like we've kind of had that breakout. I mean, this is pretty, that's not very cuppish, right? But looks like it had a big retracement here, and then it had a huge surge, and then it didn't quite break it, right? So you can't always just play breakouts, but you can see the value here. Like when you look at this and right around here, you would have been really eyeing this level, and it looks like it's serving as current support right now too. So we have, let's just draw this support right here. It's seeming like that's where the price is currently right now. So it seems like we had our breakout, achieving all-time highs right here, and we had a little rally, and it looks like we fell through that support, which kind of sucks. But that's where a lot of people probably were hoping that didn't happen. But we have enough rationale why, right? I mean, everything's sold off, so it's only logical that this would too. And the good news is that we gained some steam to potentially have, let's say, a little bit of a run here. I mean, I'm doing this all naked or on the fly, so there's no rehearsal or anything. So don't just take these setups as awesome trades. But right here, let's say that the price was there's a pretty big spread here too, which I don't like that, but that could be. Well, that's the difference between someone selling and someone buying. So that's usually it's not that big of a spread. So I'd have to look into that a little bit more. But let's just say hypothetically, you could enter in a position like just right in here, like not too far up. You could set a stop loss, right? Or you could say these are what these 5G companies kind of look good in terms of maybe entering into some positions just right above their breakout points, because they have a lot of historical support, right? And they just broke a huge decade-long bear cycle, and they should be on the way to a new bull market. But that's not always the case. But theoretically, you could see this maybe regaining some of that value, and if it can hold above this that historical support, maybe this would be worth looking into. Now that I'm just looking at this, I mean, you could probably say that formed a little bit of a head and shoulders right here. So that would have maybe given you a little bit of an indication that, hey man, if this breaks this neckline, I don't know if we're going to be too happy, right? So right there, you could say once it broke that neckline, had a pretty good move to the downside, which wasn't too good, but it's the first time I looked at this stock, so we'll see. We'll see what this one does, but definitely interesting to look at. Let's say 5G as a whole plethora of stocks, and to see how it performs in the next coming days and weeks. Because, well, if this is the wave of the future, I mean that's what investing is about, right? Investing in the trends of the future. So with this one here, not to get into too much, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this rounds out. This could be something to not completely just something to worth watching. Let's just say. Let's continue on. One last one here, Marvel Tech. Like the name of this one, Marvel Tech Group. Quickly before this one, 51.39 billion. So quite a large company as well. Cloud infrastructure and business mobility, software, hybrid cloud. Interesting, but yeah, we're not looking into these individual. We're just doing a more overview of a bunch of stocks related to 5G. All right, let's just pull up this Marvel Tech. So I think that we've seen that most of these companies are quite large in the billions, right? So this one's worth 15.8 billion. This one's a semiconductor one, so this is more the actual building of the infrastructure. All right, let's just pull up the chart here. So it seems to be a little bit more volatile. We see some big ups and downs here, so this is either good or bad, depending on what kind of investor you are, right? I mean, but when we look at this in terms of momentum, it's not quite clear, but you can say it definitely has swings, right? We're seeing some pretty big swings here, some pretty big fluctuations in price. And if you're trading as a swing trader, I mean, to see an 88% decrease in price and then to see it go back up 400%, just to see it go back down another 67%, and then to see it come back up another 300%. So this one's all over the map. I mean, that's what I mean when I say it's volatile. It's going up and down, up and down, up and down. But also, we could say vaguely, this has formed kind of a large cup here as well. And not that I'm saying that you should be breakout trading all these stocks, but these are at least looking like some tangible setups that might be setting up here in the future for, let's say, some swing trading. I mean, I'll let you know what I'm going to do, but right here we could say we got that top of 36.60, so this might be something to watch, you know, once we start moving towards that area. I mean, maybe that is a decent place to check out, especially, let's say, if these technicals are all measuring up. I mean, my perfect storm would be, let's say my perfect dream would be for this to move up, whatever, let's say it starts consolidating right here. It just starts consolidating right at the top and gives me a narrow range that I can set a stop loss between that consolidation. I mean, these are the dream investments, you know, because when you can just only, let's say, lose a percentage or two or 10% and potentially risk, you know, the gain of 300%, I mean, those are the odds you want, right? Those are the odds you want. And to consider the global macroeconomic trend, right? To see that we are becoming a technological world. So that was just a quick overview of some of these different setups. So some of these look like they've already broken out of their longer, you know, cycle. Some of them look like they've broken out and then had a little bit of a retracement back down. So this is just something to really watch for me personally over the next couple of weeks to months, because a lot of these different ones, right? I'm just going to write in a text format the different ones we covered, so you can look at these ones at your own leisure, and maybe a few of these will be added to the list. You know, I've been kind of vaguely talking about a list, but what list? A list that I'm personally interested in, and a list that can make us a little bit, you know, more well off, or what are the best assets to be involved in at this current frame in history. And for me, doing this stuff, it's never financial advice. It's all just information and sharing information so that we can all be smarter together. And I'm more than open to criticism and feedback. If you watch something here and you're like, dude, you got that all twisted, tell me. You can tell me softly or hardly. I take it either way. I mean, but right here, I don't know where I looked at it, but this was just a list associated with 5G. There was a couple other ones. I didn't like one of them, so I excluded it. Well, why don't we just show the one that I didn't want to look at? It was called Ericsson. And for me, I just didn't like how this was trending down so much. I mean, comparatively speaking to these other ones, like, I mean, this one's either having a lot bigger market cycle, or we're actually seeing maybe one of the companies that didn't do well, right? Maybe this is one company that isn't going to make it. I can't really say, right? I mean, there's not everyone can win, right? In some sense, business is competition, right? So let's say we just let's say we go back to that other one, just because I had that chart there, or just this list. Let's say we did want to get our hands involved in 5G. Like for me, I'd probably split my money accordingly throughout all these ones. I mean, maybe not all these ones because I didn't go over in depth each one of them, like each one, the potential setup, like which one's looking the best, right? Which one's looking the best? Well, the thing with this one is that it kind of already broken out, right? So it already broke out, got all-time highs, and then we fell through the support, which kind of sucks. I don't like seeing that at all. So with this one, personally, I would not get involved until I seen it start reversing. And then after it reversed, if I wanted to be super safe, like I already said, I'd want to see it touch back down, a confirmation of support right here, and then I'd be much more likely to enter into this stock here. It's just tough to see it, to enter in a position where it busted through and then it came back down. Now, this might still be very, very good. It might have a lot of room to run here. So, but for me, like, you just want some confirmation. And for me, the confirmation is to break through it again and get supported here and to continue back on to the upside. The next one, we'll just give a quick little idea of what I'll do here. For here, I'd watch this too. I'd watch it and hopefully predict that we'd see price action here until eventually we broke out of here. And then if it could, let's say hypothetically, let's say consolidate within a shorter range, I'd definitely take this bet. I definitely would take this with a tight stop loss, and I'd have no regret if it even got filled and I didn't make any money and I lost a couple $100. I mean, whatever. If you lose a few hundred and when you make a few thousand, that's the kind of trading you want to do. So looking at the Crown Castle Incorporated here, like this one's kind of already ran. It's already had its run. So for me, this could just be an ongoing, how far could this run? It's really tough to say, but for me, looking at it like this, it's so extended for me to get in. But also, you could say you could have got in here, but I don't know. That's just the way I like getting in the bottom. So here, I don't know if I would invest in this one as much, like just because the technicals don't look as good, but also it seems to be one of the best companies that has a good website. So in that case, it could be a good one to keep in mind, and maybe we could be seeing a retracement in this one. So with this one, I could say, yeah, I want to buy some of this, but I don't want to buy it until it retraces. Let's say if that is the high, I would buy this stuff within the, let's say, $65 to $83 range. So I could have just an open limit order for Crown Castle Incorporated for $65, and just say if it doesn't fill, then the hell with it. I'm not buying it at this price, so I'll buy it at a good value, and a good value is 60% of its all-time gain. That's kind of a general way to go about it. Let's do the VZ. VZ is a huge company, so this company is just so big, right? I mean, you can probably guarantee like it's going to keep growing, unless Verizon, does croak out. But right here, the same thing. I'd probably suspect price action in here, and I probably wouldn't really get into Verizon unless we start challenging these all-time highs again. Right here on a monthly sense, we are losing momentum, which is possibly setting up a great buy opportunity. So looking at this in that sense, I mean, we could say that, hey, once the momentum, gets down here again, let's say this comes down, let's say hypothetically we get the MACD rounding here, let's say that we get the technicals, let's say we start getting price action consolidating up in here. I'm taking this, I can't just say I'm taking it, no questions asked, but those are the setups that, I mean, you can spend hours looking for, right? So just continuing on, let's look at the VMZ. Okay, there is no VMZ. BMW, okay, I was just like, man, I can't even see it. Yeah, this one, I think I said, yeah, this one, it depends because we broke through here and then we fell right through. So maybe that's just amidst the current developments here. But for this one, for me to enter into this position, it doesn't seem as appealing as the other ones, but I'd want to see the action come up and then get support, and then maybe I'll look at this one a little bit more. But until we kind of confirm that we're going to continue upward, I don't want to see this just kind of trickling down, and well, this could just start forming another cup here, right? I mean, this could just be another big ass cup, or it could just be a start of a cycle, right? But let's just consider how much have we increased in value. We got a good 65% already that we missed out on, right? With that kind of setup. So is there 65% to be gained on these other ones, right? So that's just where I would never put it all into one of these bets, but you can see where there might be some value of diversifying between some of these plays. And lastly, let's just look at Marvel. Yeah, we got Marvel here. Of course we got it there, buddy. Okay, let's just draw, Let's draw a quick trend line here. You could probably draw a couple different ones depending on which angle you were trying to use. And that's just where there's no completely right one. So you could draw it right here, touching here and here. 1, 2, 3 touches. This one here has got 1, 2, right? It creates that tighter angle, but regardless, you're just using trends as a general indication. So this one right here, it has had a pretty good rise up. It had a little leg down, and now, again, this is another one that I would love to see this, let's say, get up into this range here and consolidate, and then this would be a great place to maybe put a stop loss and let's keep going up. So with these companies versus, let's say, assets like gold and silver, I'm talking about putting stop losses in, right? I don't really talk about putting stop losses in with gold and silver because I'm not planning on selling these assets unless I sell it and diversify within the same singular component. So with these companies can fail, right? So that's where companies can succeed too, right? So that's where you get your risk to reward here. But looking over, let's just go right back and let's just call this a thing, and we'll see if we get any feedback and see which ones look good. But yeah, these 6, let's say, I'll keep a general list, and maybe I'll make a little 5G playlist for the stocks, and we'll keep these 6 in here. And we'll just watch them, right? Watch them and see what this is looking like. And each person can do their own kind of thing, right? If you believe in 5G wholeheartedly, and hey, it doesn't sound stupid to me, right? I mean, 2G, 3G, 4G, what are we at now? 5G, right? And I mean, what's the competition between America and China? Well, it's 5G technology. Now, like, there's always more to talk about, like, is there something bad about 5G? I mean, each person will say this and that, right? I mean, the thing is, we know that there's always going to be some amount of electromagnetic radiation that we get from our phones, but how much and how bad it is, well, the government will say it's harmless, and then the other person will say it'll kill you. So the truth is in the middle somewhere, and it's probably not the best. I mean, it's 10 times faster, which means it's probably 10 times worse. I mean, but with some of this technology, you've kind of already seen that they're installing the small cells within buildings, within stadiums, within the infrastructure of society. So you're probably not going to have a choice if you're going to get subjected to it at some level. And when we're talking like a purely economic outlook at it, I mean, you look at it unemotionally, right? So regardless of my personal opinions about 5G technology, I'm just looking at this at an unemotional standpoint, and these look like half decent charts, man. They just really do. They're looking really close to breaking out, and I think that they're worth talking about. So that's going to be the video today concerning the 5G companies, and perhaps I'll create a little, playlist there for those in particular, because some of those looked like potential breakouts. So we'll call that a session, and this will be the last one for this today. So hopefully you have a good one. Talk to you later.